my children! What, did you think in a month full of anthology stories that I'd forget about the finest in illustrated horror? Let's take another look inside something creepy. Our first tale is called Mud. A bullied boy finds himself tossed in the mud by said bullies. He's angered that he lacks the courage and size to fight back. He plays in the mud, just casually constructing a large figure made of the mud that soon comes alive. He didn't even realize he was doing it, but now it obeys his commands, and in his anger he tells the mud creature to rough up the bullies. Unfortunately, it takes his instructions to heart, starting to kill them. When he demands it stop, it turns its anger on him. He tries to create another mud creature to fight this one, but this one, made in fear instead of anger, is no use against the original. He realizes that the mud monsters are him, and thus he needs to be a better version of himself, a braver one. And so he fights back, eventually managing to bring the creature into the water, which dissolves the mud. Now there are no more bullies. Not even him. There may not be any more bullies, but there is our next tale, the Shroud. Stephen and Sherry spend $600 they really couldn't afford to lose on the contents of a storage shed. The hope was that it had something valuable, but they find nothing of use but a strange trunk in the back. Opening it, they discover some kind of odd cloth with a demonic face on it. It smells of formaldehyde and death, but Stephen thinks he might get a pretty penny for it from the local occult bookstore. After some supernatural shenanigans, they bring the shroud to be examined, and the owner offers them $100,000 for it. But Stephen refuses, wanting to hold out for more. If he's willing to go that high for it, someone else must be willing to pay more. But the forces that want it, the Shroud of Satan, are willing to kill for it. Stephen comes back later to take up the offer, but the buyer has been killed, so now he thinks it's too dangerous to have. Stephen kills the bookstore owner and plans to sell the shroud, only to find his wife held by Satan himself. Stephen offers to trade the shroud for his wife, but the devil is disgusted that he thinks of his wife as something to be traded. Instead, he trades the shroud for his life, killing Stephen and taking back what's his. Trading lives is a common thing for creatures of the night, especially in our next tale, Bloodsuckers. A string of vampire attacks in the town of Caloosahatchee, Florida, has got the whole place terrified. The sheriff does not believe in vampires, but as the mayor says, if 73% of his constituents believe it is vampires, then he's going to bring in a genuine vampire hunter to deal with the problem. Said vampire hunter is Dr. Stephen Caldwell, who promises to deal with the problem for $20,000. Half up front. The sheriff is annoyed by this, even more so than the mosquito that bites him. Soon, another vampire attack happens, but the vampire herself is slain by something that jabs her in the abdomen and sucks out all her blood. The vampire attacks decrease until the last one is spotted by the sheriff sucking the blood of Dr. Caldwell. But then the sheriff himself transformed into a giant mosquito-like creature, sucking the vampire of its blood. This was Caldwell's plan all along, having transformed the sheriff into this creature that feasts on vampires. And then he'd only have to kill one monster, which he has done so, poisoning the sheriff. One can get pretty excited drinking blood or hunting monsters, but I think you should really pursue something in our next tale, the ultimate high. A man named John promises his girlfriend that he will spend the rest of his life with her when he returns from a trip he plans to take. He bribes his way to a Tibetan monastery where he has heard rumor of a drug more powerful than LSD or mescaline, the ultimate high. The head monk promises to give him the drug, but warns him he could waste his whole life on it. And thus, having taken it, he experiences a trip like no other, floating on water or in fields with his beloved, faces that he beheld decaying over time and laughing before he finally comes down, only to discover his own face is now aged and withered. He asks the head monk why this has happened, but said head monk explains that he is not the same one he met. He was the apprentice of the one who took care of him, and he has been in this high for decades. He, in fact, wasted his whole life on the drug. And finally, another trade. Instead of a life for a high, we have a life for a deep ruby. Lester Darrow is accosted by a leering, wretched man who entices him with a ruby. But this ruby is perfect. So many facets and complexity to it. The more Lester looks at it, the more he is drawn into it. Quite literally! He finds himself pulled into the ruby and is soon attacked by demonic beings who capture him and fly him deeper into the ruby. His blood necessary to feed the blood-red color of the gem. The wretched man offers him a deal. His life for his freedom. And Lester accepts. One finds himself now the wretched man peddling the ruby, seeking out some other poor soul who is willing to make the same trade. The anthologies we have looked at this year have been very mixed, my children. So leave it to the finest in illustrated horror to deliver a great one to end on.